Hey guys, and welcome back. And welcome to this new series on my channel, where I take a look at other people's wish lists of cars they want to see in GT7 onwards, and using basic logic and reasoning, determine how likely they are to actually be added. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, for the first episode, the wish list we're gonna be looking at comes from Volt, aka the guy that gave us more leaks for GT7 in 2 months than Nenkai did in 1.5 years. And we're gonna be taking a look at his list of 207 cars that he would like to see in GT7 or beyond. So buckle the fuck up, because you're gonna need to. Anyways, with that being said, let's get on with the list. Starting off with the only abarth that I think will be added into the game. And I don't think it's very likely, given that Abarth has not had a single car added post-launch. Given that this was cancelled midway through the project, I'd say this is just as unlikely as the Tesla Vision GT. Even though we need more Group 3 cars in GT7, I don't think this will be added because 1. When was the last time they added an Alfa Romeo? 2. They don't make fictional cars as much as they used to. Even though this car appears on my leaked list, I highly doubt this isn't a low priority one. And same goes for the modern one. As much as everyone thinks this would be a cool addition, I know this list only features cars that would be new to the series, but I highly doubt we'll be getting this over the 1998 model year. There's not really much to say for this one. It's a Group 4 car. Best case scenario, it's gonna appear as a Day 1 car for Gran Turismo 8. It is on the leaked list, so it's only really a matter of time before it gets added into the game. And the same can be said for the Montreal, even though it is a much cooler car. Given the name and the way it looks, I'd say this is one of the lower priority cars. It is only a matter of time before Alpine joins the Manufacturers' Cup, aka the one and only reason this car would even be created. I don't really see this car being added, given that my leaked list is the only confirmation of it at the moment.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
This is definitely one of the most likely road versions of an LM race car to actually arrive into the game. Oh, Night Drive will be so happy when this arrives. I could honestly see this car being completely redundant, given that we already have the GT3 variant, which is much more popular. Just like I said in the predictions video, adding this car would result in a lot of licensing issues.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
I'm not really sure if this is a concept car or not. Either way, it doesn't have much of a chance of arriving. I get your sympathy, but I highly doubt we're getting this over the year 2000 model of the car. And the fact that the year 2000 model in question is on the leaked list drastically decreases the chance of this one. I'm not getting my hopes for this one, because we're probably not gonna get it until Gran Turismo 8. Now, why would they add the 2011 model year if they already have the laser scans for the 2010 version? It looks too similar to the Valkyrie and might be considered a duplicate. Speaking of which,
nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Oh, you want the 2024? Too bad you'll be getting the 2018 instead. Definitely D. Car we're not gonna get of all time. Settle down with this. We don't even have the road version yet, let alone the Group 4, GTE, and Group 3 versions. As much as I would like to agree with you on this one, I'm sorry, I just don't see it happening. I could see this happening, but the chances of it happening are just not high enough for me to be sure.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
We don't even have the flippin' RS6 from the data mines yet, let alone the RS3. Bro, what is it with you always picking the performance model? If anything, it's less likely than the other one. Following Polyphony's logic, why would they add this when they already have the laser scans for the V10 RS6? Let's be honest, when was the last time we got a car from the modern year? In the last update, you stupid fuck. Okay, fair, but that still doesn't confirm anything about this car being added. I could actually see them replacing the one from GT4 through 6 with this one. This one is just not likely, what can I say? And neither is the Sportback variant.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
But looking at your other options from Audi, I guess this is your best bet. I highly doubt we'll be getting Bentley, but if we do, this does seem like a likely addition for it. You know why I think this is unlikely? 2 words. Electric car.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
As for the race car variant, I don't think people will mind it too much. It does have a chance of arriving to the game, but I don't think it's a priority at the moment. And the same can be said for the modern M3 and M4, which had 3 different versions of it listed for some reason, while the technically 4th one stands alone, purely to the fact that it's a DTM car, but honestly that doesn't really help its case. Unfortunately, we already have the confirmation for the 2005 BMW M5, so I highly doubt we'll be getting this one anytime soon. Bro really featured 2 versions of the M6, of which the 2013 is more likely, purely to the fact that it's on my leaked list. And same goes for the M8 competition, although it is a lot less likely. And you might as well include the even less likely variant of the M8 for that matter. This is another one where it's an alternate version of a car that's already confirmed to be added soon. We already got the Chiron back in 2022, so I highly doubt we'll be getting this as well. Bruh, what are the odds that you included the 2 Bugattis I mentioned in my predictions video? Both of which are some of the most likely Bugattis to be added in the future. No, just no. Adding the Supersport variant as well would be redundant, as we've just been over this moments ago. Honestly, I didn't know this was in the works. Yeah, I could honestly see this being released I don't know when. This car, alongside the 2 other ones, would be a great way to re-debut Cadillac into the series. But will Polyphony think so? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It's a GT4 car, and I think we all know how Polyphony is with adding those.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
And besides, the 2019 variant, which is already in the game, is much more cooler and popular. This car would be a nice addition, even if it does get overshadowed by the C5R, but unfortunately, I don't think it's that likely. My man really featured 4 variants of the C8 Corvette, none of which will be added in GT7's life cycle. I see you went all out with this one by picking the fake Rolls-Royce, which honestly isn't likely enough to be brought back in GT7's life cycle. If you really want this, get ready to be waiting for this more than we waited for GTA 6 to release. And sadly, the same goes for the Dolores Stradale. I know for a fact that adding this would result in a lot of backlash. But given how unpredictable cars and updates are, you just never know. It is on the leaked list, however, I don't see it being more likely than the 2008 Viper ACR. As much as I'm trying to be optimistic about this one, I just don't see them adding this over the year 2000 model of the car. What I said about the previous Group B car. It's a concept car. Need I say any more? And same goes for this weird looking DSE Tense. As much as I would want the Ferrari Xbox 360 to be added, I don't think it will be. There are 3 versions of the Ferrari 488 on this list. Now, I do remember there being a Ferrari 488 on my leaked list, but it wasn't this, nor was it the Group 3 or the Pista. So yeah, if we are gonna be getting a Ferrari, it's neither of these three. Wasn't the license for this car already taken by the 24-hour Le Mans game? It is on the leaked list, I'll give you that, but unfortunately, I don't see this being added over the 2006. Unfortunately, the fact that this car is so obscure drastically decreases its chances of being added. There's no way we're getting this over the 2008 from GT5 and 6. It is on the leaked list, I'll give you that. But this is another case of a car being pretty obscure, at least to Gran Turismo fans. I've got a shower thought for you. Why is it called the Ferrari FF if it's not actually front-wheel drive? Anyways, this is another case of a car being pretty unknown to GT fans. So it's not really a surprise on why this car isn't gonna be added.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
You know, after watching your new video, I can actually see this being added. But when? That's for you to figure out. It is on the leaked list, but again with the wrong model year. Other than that, I don't have any complaints. This car is definitely one of the more likely Ferraris on your list to actually be added. We do not have a Ford Escort in Gran Turismo 7, so this could easily fill in that slot. But will it? That's all up to Polyphony. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be getting the 1996 over the highly anticipated 1998. Even if it is bottom priority, it still has a higher chance of being added than the fucking Jay Leno tank car. And same goes for the 2014, which they'll probably add for the meme, which I hope they don't. Even though the end of production version would be cool to have, I don't really see it being added, the reason of which remains unchanged. This could be likely, if it wasn't for the fact that it was being overshadowed by the 2006. 2024 mis bolas, cause we're not gonna be getting this anytime soon. Again, it is still nowhere as likely as the one from the previous Gran Turismo games, but a still pretty nice pick.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Although I do think the 2024 would be a nice addition. Unfortunately, the fact that it's a modern GT3 race car doesn't really help this one's case. Now, this can't really be considered a duplicate, given that the one we already have in the game is the Shelby GT350. But I can still see some backlash if it does get added. I know this car appears on the leaked list, but the fact that it's hidden in plain sight drastically decreases its chances of being added. This would be a pretty odd addition, but Gran Turismo was always known for having a lot of those. So this car would only add to that. Now hold it there. I think your ambitions are a bit too high because I highly doubt we'll be getting the normal Mirai, let alone these two. The 2010 Civic never actually featured in Gran Turismo, but I could still see some backlash if it does get added. Probably being outshadowed by the 2015 that we already have. There's no fucking way we're getting a 2024 Super GT this soon.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update.
This is definitely not as likely as the Ioniq. Speaking of which, that's the next car on his list. I could see them adding this to the game, even if the ugly Veloster is more likely than it in every way. Unfortunately, the American not Skyline is not gonna be returning, but I may eventually see it happen in the next mainline Gran Turismo.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
There's no way we're ever getting Koenigsegg. Even though this is on the leaked list, it's still another case of it being hidden in plain sight.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
After watching your new video, I can honestly say the chances of this car being added are higher than ever.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Definitely the more likely of the two Gallardos on your list, just because it appears on my leaked list. Let's be real, a modern GT3 race car in Gran Turismo? Forget about it. Even though it's on the leaked list, it's another case of it being hidden in plain sight. I'm not sure whether this is a concept car or not. Either way, it's not very likely. We don't even have the rally car yet. Calm down with your high expectations. And the same can be said for the Delta S4. You may be wondering, when are we gonna get this? Probably when fish start rock climbing. Super Saloons didn't really get much attention in Gran Turismo 7, and I'm afraid this is gonna continue into Gran Turismo 8. You really did go for one of the least likely premiums from GT6, didn't you? Be for real, when was the last time we got a Super GT race car in GT7? You know, even though this is associated with Toyota, I don't really see them prioritizing this.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Well, at least you're realistic about Lotus, with there only being one on the list. And I could actually see this being added alongside the Evora and Elise. This car does appear on the leaked list, but not this version of it. That's one reason why it won't be added. This one is basically a basic pick for every brand that hasn't entered Manufacturers Cup yet.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
How down bad do you have to be to feature 4 versions of a car that's already present in the goddamn game? What can I say? This is just not likely, as the most modern Mercedes we have in GT7 is the AMG GT Black Series from 2020. Knowing Polyphony, this piece of shit is probably gonna be the next Group 4 car we get. Now, why would they add this exactly?
'Cause it's iconic.
Quite literally. And I like to do iconic shit. But being serious, I don't see this being added because it's a concept car. And because it's from 2023. The 570S and the 720S don't seem to be that bad of a choice. Even if my leaked list is the only confirmation for them at the moment. As much as everyone would like this to be added alongside the regular 720S, I don't think it will. Cause this is Polyphony. Do you need any other reason?
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
McLaren in general doesn't really get much attention in GT7, so yeah, that's why I don't see this being a possibility. Now, I can't really say how likely it is, because you didn't list it with a model year. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to agree with you on this one, I just don't see it being added before the 2024 Mini Cooper. I like your confidence, but I don't think we'll be getting this over the 1995 variant. I gotta say, you have some nice picks for Nismo. Too bad none of them will be added due to licensing. If we do get one of these, it's definitely not the safety car, because we are no longer in GT Sport days.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update. Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update.
Even though we already got a trailer for this on the official Nissan channel, this is still far from being added. We have not had a Nissan Pulsar since Gran Turismo 2. What makes you think they're gonna add it now? Again with the Super GT cars, like they're not gonna add them for a freaking while. Speaking of stuff that won't get added, there's absolutely no way we are getting Opel. Now, even though this would be considered a duplicate by many, it would be a great addition to Pagani. It's only a matter of when it's gonna get added. As much as everyone thinks this is a 908 duplicate, it really isn't. But that still doesn't change the fact that it's hidden in plain sight. You see, Volt, there's a reason why this car isn't in GT Sport nor GT7. And that's because it was replaced by the even sportier variant. And I think you should know how Polyphony is with cars that are replaced. They're left completely behind, never to be seen again. For this one, it's not a matter of when it's gonna get added, it's a matter of if it's gonna be added. And same goes for the sporty variant. For once, there's a car on the list that actually has more of a chance of being added than the one we used to have. Mainly because of the fact that the one we used to have was a concept car.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Do I even need to say it? It's a duplicate car. Out of all the unlikely race cars on this list, this just happens to be one of the least unlikely ones, given how many Porsches we got in updates, and same goes for the 911 GT3R, although it is a bit more unlikely. I was gonna say that this is a duplicate car, but we've never actually had a 911 GT2.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Even though many people would be happy that Celine would be back, I unfortunately don't see it happening. Hell, I don't see this car being added into Gran Turismo at all. Even though every player of GT4 through 6 would approve the idea of Seat returning, and I don't actually disagree on it either, I unfortunately don't see it coming back before Lotus. Exactly how do you know about the existence of this car? Cause I'm actually curious. Other than that, yeah, this is a very likely next addition to Skoda. When it comes to your pick for Subaru, you've pretty much hit the bullseye. Because 1, it's on the leaked list, 2, it's one of, if not the most likely modern Subaru to be added next. Being honest, this has to be the most unlikely car on your list to be added. You know, being honest, this would be the first road version of a NASCAR we would ever have in the series. And I'm all for it. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said about Polyphony themselves. I mean, what do I need to say that hasn't already been said? It's a Group 4 car.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
Another case of a car being hidden in plain sight, meaning that it's not gonna get added anytime soon.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
It doesn't really help it that people would probably consider this as a duplicate to the BRZ GT300 that's already in the game. This won't be added, the reasons of which remain unchanged. It's a concept car, and we all know how concept cars are in GT7. Non-existent. In terms of how unlikely this is alongside the TSO40, let's be honest, these two are on par with the old Ford Fiesta, Tesla Roadster, and Celine S1.
Nobody wants to see a slot for a new car in an update taken up by an alternate version of a car we already have.
It is very unlikely, but also at the same time, it's the most likely Group B car on this list. Interesting pick. Not likely enough to be added, but still pretty interesting. And I guess the same can be said for the Volkswagen Corrado. Yeah, no, people will consider this as a duplicate to the Golf Mark V GTI, which will be added eventually. You know, if Polyphony actually cared about what the players want in the game, then this would already be added. But since they don't, we have to wait all the way till Gran Turismo 8, at best, to see this car be added. It was scrapped, therefore it's not being added. Just like the Alfa Romeo Vision GT. There's no way we're getting this over the already laser-scanned 2009 variant. I don't really know this car, but I believe it would be a lovely addition. even if Polyphony thinks otherwise. Definitely the most likely Vision GT on this list, even if we don't know much about it. And finally, this is not likely. What did you expect? And overall, that is the list. And if there are any adjustments you'd like to make, let me know in the comments section. And if you're wondering, no, I did not feature every single car on that list. But that was mostly done to avoid talking about cars that don't even have a chance of being added into Gran Turismo at all. And I obviously didn't feature any cars that are already in the game, cause that would be completely pointless. I also hope that Volt himself didn't get offended by any of the things I said. But I guess we'll just have to wait till he actually sees this video for that. Anyways, if you'd like to see more episodes of this series, let me know in the comments section whose wishlist I should do next. And until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.